Good afternoon to you. Great to have you on. First of all, Dean, your thoughts on Arsenal's performance?
I thought it was outstanding. I thought the way they started the game, they pressurised Tottenham, they pushed them back. I thought they were excellent. I thought it was exactly the sort of performance I think Arteta wants from his side. And the fact that when you looked after the game that they won pretty much all the categories of their individual duels, I think shows how dominant they were. And in those sort of games, I just think it is down to, you know, your attitude, your work rate, your desire, and Arsenal had way more, I thought, than Tottenham yesterday.
Yeah, how impressed were you with them, Lee?
I thought they were brilliant. You know, just echoing what Dean's just said, I think the way they're set up, I think sometimes you can get, you know, the whole derby situation can take over a game, but it didn't faze Arsenal one bit. In fact, I think what really impressed me more so is that, you know, the derby hype that comes with it, but just the way that they went about their business, the way they got about the pitch, they looked like a team full of confidence, energy. I think Spurs had certain spells in the game where they looked dangerous on the counter-attack, but I think in possession Arsenal were just absolutely brilliant, and you know, I can't give enough credit to Arteta the way he set his side out. And they are pushing for, well, we're looking now and saying, are they contenders? Well, I think when you're looking down the league at this moment in time, Liverpool dropping away, not been at their best this season. I think if I had to pick someone else just below Man City, Arsenal would be my team. And that's from, you know, not just yesterday, but since the start of the season, they've been absolutely excellent.
Yeah, and they are top of the table for that. And someone who was very good yesterday, scored an amazing goal, was Thomas Partey in central midfield. When he signed for Arsenal, it was a big signing for them, a lot of excitement. He's had problems with injuries, but how important is he becoming?
I knew he would be a big signing for Arsenal when they brought him in. It was a matter of time before he settled in. And this is the thing where I go back to crediting Mikel Arteta, is that the players that he's brought in, the culture that he's brought to the football club, the young players that he's got in that side at this moment in time. Partey is someone that you build around, and listen, he proved his quality yesterday, but I've seen him many times where he is a standout performer in there. He's getting the best out of Granit Xhaka, who, let's face it, not so long back he was on his way out the door. You know, he was taking his shirt off, but you know, all of a sudden he's revitalised that whole squad, and he's got players in areas where I think you look for the spine of the team at this moment in time. And I tell you what, there's not many midfielders in that position that could even come up against Thomas Partey. His goal was absolutely top draw, and that's just a sign of a confident side and a good defensive midfielder in my eyes.
I think as well, what surprised me was that quality he showed as well on the ball. I mean, you know, Arsenal are going to have possession more than most in a lot of games, and that transition is going to be important, that defensive side. But actually, when he got on the ball, he was excellent, and the goal, I think he was second for most chances created. It's such a problem area, I think. In the Premier League, with so many teams that want to counter-attack and transition very quickly, that part of the pitch is so important. And he just, especially because Granit Xhaka's going and's got freedom to get forward, he's got a lot to patrol. I think
also as well, you're looking at the likes of Martinelli and Saka, that I think you look through the forward line, and listen, Gabriel Jesus has been, for me, the best signing for quite some time for Arsenal. I think that was an area where I could identify Arsenal of probably not getting the goals, not creating, not being, you know, having that cutting edge, if you like, as much as what I'd like to have seen. He brings that in abundance with Martinelli and Saka, and then you've got Odegaard in there. If you get that midfield area, which I feel that they've got right at this moment in time with Partey in there, he can distribute them passes, and as Dino said, Xhaka's going to join in, and that's the freedom that they're playing with at this moment in time. It's brilliant to see, and I'm really pleased that it's starting to work out for Arteta.
Yeah, indeed. Lee just talked about Gabriel Jesus there and Arteta's signings. How impressive have you been with him? Because as that graphic just showed, second equal only behind Erling Haaland for goal involvements. Yeah,
I mean, he's the start he's made right through pre-season where he was outstanding. He's taken that on. He looks like a leader, actually, that surprised me. He's way more physical as well than I thought. Actually, when he backs in, he's bouncing defenders off him and getting hold of it. And then there's the wonderful bits, the bits where, you know, he totally sent Emerson Royal yesterday with a little chop that he took to the side, and just those bits of magic that you want to see. And you only produce that if you're confident, if you believe in yourself, and there's no one really more confident, probably other than Haaland, than him at the moment.
And Lee's saying that at the moment Arsenal seem to be the closest team to Manchester City, but of course, Arsenal are top. Is it ridiculous to think that they could mount a title challenge?
No, I don't think so. I think you can already see a slight switch in mentality with the likes of Zinchenko and Jesus and Partey and these sorts of players. But there's going to be these tests that come about. That was another one yesterday, and they passed. They failed against Manchester United. It's not going to be perfect, but it's every little test. I think that everyone's going to go, oh, well, as soon as you meet Liverpool, as soon as you meet Chelsea, as soon as you meet Manchester City, that's where he's going to be. That is where he's going to be judged.
That's going to be a big fixture, isn't it?
Well, those next 6, that's before the World Cup.
Yeah.
4 of them are away, and one of those home games is against Liverpool. So going into the World Cup, things could actually, well, if it goes well there, if they get through that run of fixtures, still top of the table by the World Cup, people might start to really believe.
I think people are believing anyway, Tom. I really do. I just think that, I'm looking at the bigger picture at this moment in time. I know we're still early on in the season, but I just think the squad in depth that he's got at this minute, I just think it's going well for him. I know that they are going to have a dip in form. I think you're dead right there. I think looking at them fixtures, I think if they can keep doing what they're doing and keep that momentum and consistency, and then have the break and be sitting top of the Premier League, it's all for them to throw away, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, World Cup wise, the 3 Brazilians weren't picked in the last squad. Are they even going to go? Or are they going to get to rest? Ben White wasn't in the England squad. Is he going to get to rest? That actually could be really important as to who's then fresh when we come out of the World Cup. And like you say, if they get through them fixtures with a good points total, then again you'd really fancy them to start well after the World Cup.
As for Tottenham, obviously they were on the receiving end of that Arsenal performance in the North London derby. Did Antonio Conte get his approach right?
I don't think it's been much different, has it? I think Spurs at this moment in time have I don't know, have they just got buying games? Have they been, I don't think the fans have been overly happy with the way performances have been, but they were going into that game unbeaten. So, sometimes you just feel, is it going to click? Is it going to start happening for Spurs? I just didn't feel they were quite at it. Him leaving Son out, before this game was. I mean, some people might have said it was a masterstroke that brought him on and got a reaction out of him. I don't know. I'm not sure. And I think the way Conte sets up, he is very defensive-minded. You know that for a fact. But when you've got, and you look at the higher end of the pitch with Kane, Son, Richarlison, there's always an outlet, and they did look dangerous at times on the counter-attack, and that's the way they are going to set up for sure. Perisic out on that left-hand side, I just think that the balance, yes, it's not far away, but I'm not saying that Spurs are going to be contending for the title. I can't see that at all, and I looked at even when he brought all them substitutes on, which really baffled me. You're bringing 4 or 5 subs on, and you're going.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be 5 at one point, didn't it?
Well, it was,
and then actually sat one back down.
But then you're looking and you're thinking, well, Harry Kane's played 2 games in the space of a week. It's his 3rd game, obviously, yesterday, and then you've got Son, who's been sort of not in the team recently. And you're thinking, how on earth are you going to sort of stretch and relieve a bit of pressure? He didn't. He left Kane on. Kane can drop in and play in a 10. How many times do we see that? I thought he would have left either Richarlison on or Son, that could have just given that opportunity to spin it up the pitch, chase something down. Kane's not going to really go and do that for you. So I just found it was almost the surrender flags came out, wasn't it? We aren't going to win this game. We're going to sit back, protect the 3-1 defeat. We've got a big game, and it could have been a lot more damaging. And that's the only way I can see it from a Conte perspective, is that he's gone, do you know what, we've lost this game. I need to start building for next week. We've got a big European tie. I think that's the only way I can look at it. But I was just baffled that he didn't maybe drop Kane in or bring him off and leave one of the more sort of athletic players that can sort of turn a corner and squeeze Spurs up the pitch, because it was always going to be backs against the wall with them being down to 10 men.
Dean, if you think of your career, what was the most fierce derby you played in? Would it be Norwich Ipswich? Who would it be for Crewe? We're trying to put a scenario.
Crew got too many teams around.
Okay, fine, all right. So you're playing in a derby for Norwich against Ipswich, right, which is a fierce derby. How would you react if one of your teammates, in this case it's Emerson Royal, did that in a huge game when the game was actually still in the balance?
I think sometimes, I mean, personally, I just think this, you know, he'd had a tough game and Tottenham had done a lot of defending, and to me that looked like a tired, lazy tackle. You know, he's probably almost half a metre away from the ball. It's not close. It's a horrible height in which he's tackled with, and it's rightly a red card. Sometimes I look at those games and I think players sometimes go in for challenges thinking that they need to. It's a derby. I need to show that I care, and that I need to show something to the fans that I care. Go into a silly challenge, and then I think as a teammate you're like, well, hang on, you've now left us. You know, you've left us with 10 men, you know, in a tough game, in a hostile atmosphere. It wasn't one of those.
Yeah, I felt
tired.
There was a lot of them sort of challenges that were flying around in the game. I felt that's where sometimes the game can get lost, can't it? That I agree with you. I felt it was a real. Go on, I've got to try and make something of this, and it did. I mean, the more I look at it. When it's slowed down, it does look horrendous. It really does, and it is a half a leg breaking challenge, isn't it? And this is the unfortunate thing these days, is that you cannot afford to make them silly, needless challenges, because that's what it's resorting into. And at the game of that calibre, you don't want to be down to 10 men. You know, you're chasing the game at the time. You're up against a side who are top of the league and in great shape. And it's disappointing, but I do feel that was one of them challenges that could have easily been a yellow card. But VAR these days are always going to overturn that, and they can see the slow motion. It looks a lot worse.
Yeah.